think I'd try this a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks that I know. I'm getting tired of talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now.
Driving through that dust on the Makgadikgadi Pans brought back so many amazing memories of the Serengeti trip, an epic 70-day road trip that Nxai Pan and I did in 2011 when we drove from Pretoria to the Serengeti and back in my Toyota Hilux, the Hyena. To commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the Serengeti trip, we hopped in the car again to visit 3 of Botswana's wildest and most beautiful places. We photographed the iconic baobab trees of Kubu Island, staked out one of the country's most productive waterholes in Nxai Pans National Park, and we drove from one incredible sighting to the next in the Khwai concession north of Maun. And just like before, Nxai was the perfect travel buddy. He cleans, he cooks, and he knows how to fix things. But most importantly, we have the same passion for nature and the desire to see and photograph amazing sightings. This time we traveled in Nxai's trusty Toyota Fortuner Frikkie, and we also teamed up with 6 amazing companies that not only made our trip possible, but also a lot more enjoyable. Botswana Footprints covered our accommodation and ensured the booking process was quick and simple. Outdoor Photos rental department sent with some amazing mirrorless camera gear, and the Trail Food Company kept Frikkie's tank full along with our bellies by providing us with their tasty dehydrated food. As always, Sat4N provided a satellite phone and airtime for emergencies and to keep in touch with our families. And then last but by no means least, Frikkie got a bit of a facelift thanks to Econolift Suspensions, who added their air helpers for those bumpy sand roads, and 4x4 Centurion, who fitted a snorkel for the deep river crossings in Khwai. I'll tell you more about these companies and their amazing services and products throughout the series, and you can always find their contact details in the video descriptions. I drove down from Hoedspruit a day earlier to pick up the camera gear, and so that Nxai and I could figure out exactly what we'd be taking with on our 2-week-long trip to Botswana. Only the most essential items made it into the ammo boxes.
Right, it's finally time to pack.
We put our camping chairs and a ground sheet on the roof rack, along with 4 ammo boxes, 40 litres of drinking water, 80 litres of diesel, a gas bottle, as well as a gazebo, which came in extremely handy in the October heat. We put 4 more ammo boxes in the back, together with a National Luna fridge freezer and our mattresses and sleeping bags. Finally, we slid in the table and fastened the spade to the roof rack.
As you can see here behind me, Nxai actually has a bush trailer. And for a short while, when we looked at all the stuff we had earlier today, we thought, yes, why didn't we just pull the trailer? But you know, it's just one extra thing that can break down and get stuck in the sand, especially considering the really sort of tough sandy roads that we're going to drive towards Nxai Pans and especially up in Khwai. So I'm so glad we decided to put everything inside and on top of the Fortuner. Now let's just hope that we can make it work. Here we go, pretty much packed, only clothes and camera gear tomorrow morning, and then we're off to Botswana. Ready to go, buddy?
Yeah, I can't wait anymore. Let's go.
Road again.
Thank you so much.
We couldn't believe how many trucks were lined up to cross Groblersbrug into Botswana.
There we go. That was a 5-minute crossing on the Groblersbrug side. What do you think, Nxai?
Every border crossing is stressful for me.
Especially if you see like 500 trucks standing in a queue going, ready to cross. I really feel bad for these guys. So this is what the bridge looks like. I think we can go. Welcome to Botswana. Yoo-hoo! That was a little bit of a long one there in the queue for the vehicle stuff. But yeah, we're pretty much through Martin's Drift. Big stop at King, and then we head for Malawi. So at the moment, there are quite a few restrictions on what we're allowed to and not allowed to bring in food-wise into Botswana. We couldn't bring in any meat, vegetables, or dairy. So we've stopped here in Palapi before we go to Khama Rhino Sanctuary to shop for these things at places like Spa and the Food Lovers Market. And we bought all our dry stuff back in South Africa. After buying all our groceries and filling up the jerry cans with diesel, we tackled the final stretch to Khama Rhino Sanctuary. This was a nice surprise. We got some St. Louis, Savannahs, and gin, which we couldn't get in town because it was a Sunday, or it is a Sunday. We got it here at Khama Rhino Sanctuary. Nice, man. Because it's an easy day's drive from Gauteng, Khama Rhino Sanctuary is one of Botswana's most popular self-drive stopovers. They've got a lovely large campsite with clean bathrooms and hot water. Each stand has a fire pit and braai stand, but no power. When you make your booking through Botswana Footprints, ask for stand number 9 if you're in a big group, or stand number 10 if you're just in 1 or 2 cars. Both have plenty of shade and are close to the ablution blocks. After stocking up with drinks and firewood, we headed straight to the campsite to pitch our tent.
Mr. the Safari expert, just explain to us, to me and all our viewers, what is this?
I haven't camped in this tent a lot. It's my new tent, but it's more a mosquito net than it is a tent. But the reason that I chose it is because when you're traveling in the summer like this, when it's hot, you're gonna love the fact that the breeze can go all the way through. Believe me, you don't want to be in a canvas tent, you want to be in a mosquito net. Little did we know that the heat would be our biggest challenge on this trip, pushing the mercury levels to dangerously high levels from time to time. For now though, we were just grateful to be on the road, excited about what the following 2 weeks had in store for us. Yo, we had an incredibly windy first night here at Khama Rhino Sanctuary. The wind just came up from nowhere late yesterday afternoon. We actually got to bed at about 7:30, so we had a very, very good sleep after yesterday's long drive. Just busy packing up now, and then we head to Kubu Island. It looks like we might have similar windy weather for the rest of the day, but luckily we've got 2 nights there, so hopefully we can get those shots of the stars that we've been hoping for. The drive from Khama Rhino Sanctuary to Kubu Island via Letlakane took us about 5 hours. The first stretch is a decent tar road, along which we stopped to buy some firewood. Good thing too, because that was the last time we saw wood for sale for the rest of the day. So we've just gone through the little village of Matsumu. That's actually where the road turns from tar to gravel on the way to Kubu Island. And not far in, and we've actually hit the first thick sand. It was nothing Frikkie couldn't handle, but we did rely on Tracks for Africa to find our way, because as we approached the Makgadikgadi Pans, the sandy tracks forked multiple times without any signage whatsoever. Luckily, they always seemed to join up again, and before we knew it, the terrain started flattening out completely. Yay, how does it feel to have reached the Pans?
Sure, this is almost surreal to think we have reached this far. Yeah, the road's not too bad, eh? I didn't even have to go into 4x4. Maybe it's just Frikkie. All my excellent driving skills, but it's really exciting. I enjoyed it a lot.
The amazing thing is when we first saw the Pans, it actually looked like there was water in it in the distance, but of course it's just a mirage. But with having had that sort of rainy weather last night, I was a little bit concerned that we might strike water. But yeah, definitely a figment of my imagination. Look at this.
Makgadikgadi consists of a number of salt pans, the largest of which covers nearly 5,000 square kilometers. The pans are all that remain of an enormous lake that is believed to have dried up tens of thousands of years ago. In the heart of the pans lies one of Botswana's most remote and most beautiful places, Kubu Island. Kubu Island is a relatively small rocky island surrounded by dry savanna on the one side and flat salt pans on the other. Its main attraction, however, is the iconic baobab trees that cover it, attracting photographers and nature lovers like ourselves from all over the world. We pulled into Kubu Island around midday, which is the perfect time because it allows you to pitch your tent precisely where there's the most shade during the heat of the day. And believe me, there's not much going around. If you're traveling between September and March, I strongly recommend that you bring a gazebo with. Kubu Island's rustic campsite has only 12 stands, most of which have a clean long drop close by. If you're going to book a specific stand, at least for a small group, go for number 4. It's not as uneven as most of the other stands, and at least it has one massive tree. Speaking of bookings, booking a self-drive camping trip to Botswana can be a real headache. If you've done this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not always clear who you should contact to book a specific campsite. It's hard to make changes to your itinerary or to make your payments, and even to get your booking confirmation can be a nightmare. And this is where Botswana Footprints come in. When I booked this trip, I literally sent one email with my ideal itinerary, and they then let me know what is available and made suggestions where it wasn't. Once we finalized the itinerary, they sent me a quotation and I made a single online payment safely with my credit card, and they then go and pay all the different camps and agencies and even Botswana parks on my behalf. And the moment that Botswana Footprints then get the confirmation from those places, they collect those vouchers and send all of them together to you in an email. Now, all of this they do for a once-off booking fee, and that fee stays the same irrespective of how big or small your itinerary is. So when you're ready to book your next trip to Botswana, don't go through all those hassles of trying to book it yourself. Simply email Botswana Footprints and let them do it for you. I've added a link to their website in the description below. Later that afternoon, when the light got a little bit better, we drove to the other side of the island where we got out to explore it on foot.
Yo, beautiful.
Seeing the baobabs of Kubu Island for the first time was a dream come true for me, and photographing them was even more amazing. I have to give a massive shout out to Mark Dumbleton, who not only inspired me with all his amazing landscape photographs on Instagram, but who also told us where the most iconic trees are and what the best ways are to light them up after dark.
What's your first impressions of Kubu Island from a photography point of view?
There's so many options, so you first have to just figure out which tree you want to take a photo of. But and it's difficult. Do you want to take silhouettes? Do you want to take the pans with the landscape in the background? Yeah, but there's so many different options, and we haven't even touched the stars. So yeah, it's crazy, but it's really, really fun.
We carried on taking photos until 11 o'clock that evening, and if I'm honest, it was hard to put our cameras down. I'll post a separate video with tips on how to take these kind of shots later, and once it's up, I'll add a link in the corner above. Early the next morning, we headed out again, this time to photograph the baobab trees at sunrise.
We are busy with serious stuff here. We're in quite a hurry because the sun is coming up and we have to get a coffee. So Leah woke me up just after 2 to get, I'm just joking, just after 4 to get these shots. But it's really exciting. We'll show you a bit later how it came out.
We both used rental gear from Outdoor Photo in Pretoria. I used a Canon R6 mirrorless camera with a Canon 15-35 f2.8 RF lens, and Yei a Canon EOS R mirrorless camera with a Canon 16-35 f4 lens. A full-frame camera and a proper wide-angle lens is a must if you want to recreate these kinds of shots. After our photo shoot, Yei decided it was time to get some exercise in what must be one of the most incredible places to go for a run.
Can't believe he's going for a run. Crazy person. Check who's coming here. Hey buddy.
Yeah! Khama!
How was that one?
Woohoo! Oh, excellent.
How far did you go?
16.
16.
Yeah.
How long did you run for?
1 hour, 40 minutes, 41 minutes.
Well done it, man. Sure. How does it feel to run around Kubu Island?
Ah, excellent. Yes, it's lovely. But I'm tired.
Magic, man. There's a shower waiting for you, sort of.
Awesome. Thanks.
After that busy morning, we decided to take a nice long nap before we headed out again later that afternoon to grab an early dinner with a spectacular view. And this is where the trail food company's packages of dehydrated food came in very handy. So Yei and I were up until 11 o'clock last night photographing baobab trees. In fact, we were hopping around on these very rocks, and then we did the same this morning at 4:15. So our sleeping routine is completely disrupted and we slept for most of the day. It's probably about 5:30 now, and we've got a beautiful view, and this is what I love so much about this trail food. It's giving us the opportunity to eat a gourmet meal without all that preparation that you would have to do if you cook it yourself in camp. We enjoyed a beef potjie in this incredible setting. It really is incredibly quick and easy to prepare. But remember, the less al dente you want it, the longer you've got to soak and boil it. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks. To Kubu Island, eh?
Ah, yes.
What an amazing place.
Majestical. I think that's the right word.
Yeah, everybody's got to see this place, eh? It's something you can't put into words. You have to experience it yourself.
When you clean the pan, then you know it's good.
Somebody has to do it.
Nom 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 nom.
Kubu Island really is a special place and definitely worth a visit if you're planning a self-drive trip through Botswana. Come for at least 2 nights, and if you love photography, stay even longer because there's just so much beauty here to capture. Kubu Island is extremely remote, so never visit without a sat phone, which you can rent from Sat for Rent. And remember, don't attempt to cross the Makgadikgadi Pans during the wet season. Rather come between June and October when the pan surface is much drier. Instead of photographing the sunset on our last afternoon, we drove out onto the pan, poured ourselves some G&Ts and watched the sunset behind Kubu Island. The following day, we'd be looking for lions and elephants at Nxai Pans National Park. Tomorrow, Nxai Pans.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
CIA.
Our time at Kubu Island was nothing short of remarkable, but it was time for us to head on to our next wild destination, Nxai Pan National Park. Just like before, we packed up very early so that we could get to our next campsite around midday.
Good morning.
Morning. Looking forward to Nxai Pans.
Hey, a lot, eh? I see some animals. It was wild here, but no wildlife.
The drive out from Kubu Island to Nxai Pan South Camp took about 6 hours. And the first stretch to Gweta was even more beautiful than the road in from Khama Rhino Sanctuary a couple of days before. It was, however, incredibly dusty, and by the time we finally stopped to stretch our legs, Yei had to pull out the feather duster before we could open Frikie's boot.
It's time for a coffee here on the Pans. A little bit sleepy, I'm not going to lie. It's what happens when you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to photograph baobab trees. The old feather duster is doing its trick. How's the road been so far, Yei?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Actually, still haven't used 4x4, but really corrugated and stony in parts, and you go through these patches where I'm still not sure what you call this soil, or cotton soil or something. Yeah, but it's dusty. Eh? Some parts a bit overgrown, so you'll see some. Frikkie has some beauty scars, but yeah.
Dusty two-tracks and scratchy branches weren't our only challenges, as the roads kept on forking over and over. Believe me, if you're driving from Kubu Island, you simply won't reach Gweta without Tracks for Africa.
So we're on the road between Gweta and Maun on the way to Nxai Pans, and look, our first sighting of a big five.
Shortly after, we pulled into the main entrance gate of Nxai Pan National Park, where our booking vouchers were checked. Because I had booked through Botswana Footprints, everything had been settled already. Our entrance fees with Botswana's Department of Wildlife and National Parks, and our camping fees with the Khwai group who manages South Camp. We knew the road from the gate to the campsite was bad, but nothing could have prepared us for what lay ahead.
Woo!
Full concentration, yeah?
Here comes another stretch. Yo, pick a lane.
Doesn't matter if you want to pick one, it doesn't kill you.
Yo.
For the following hour, we felt like we were in a washing machine.
Yo.
Painful.
For 35 kilometers, we bumped around on thick, corrugated sand, and it's only thanks to some suspension alterations that we were able to survive it. Yei actually took Frikkie to Econolift suspensions in Boksburg shortly before the trip to have a pair of air helpers installed specifically with this road in mind. The air helpers basically provide additional support to the existing coil springs and shock absorbers by lifting the back of the car, preventing it from sagging and the suspension from bottoming out on bumpy roads when it's heavily laden. The cool thing is you can control the amount of lift by inflating or deflating the air helpers through a valve at the back of the car. Although the air helpers did their job perfectly, we didn't come out completely unscathed on the other side.
What happened?
Hi man, this road up from Nxai Pans gate got us. It snapped our cable of the fridge right through the positive. I still have to go and check the fuses, but yeah, it looks as if I will be able to fix it. It's crucial because otherwise all our cold meat and everything will be goners. So yeah, but
all the more reason to bring a proper toolbox.
yeah, well,
You think you've got everything you need?
I'm not sure if you call this proper, but there's everything in there.
Luckily, yeah, he was able to fix it. And good thing too, because over the next few days, the temperature would just keep climbing higher and higher.
Is it alive?
Oh yeah. Listen to the sweet sound. Hold on, Sean.
Thanks, man.
Visiting Nxai Pans National Park had been on my bucket list for years, and it was wonderful to finally be here. Although you can also camp at Baines Baobab, South Camp is the place to stay if you're coming for game viewing. It's privately run by the Khwai group, who are in charge of maintaining the campsite, which consists of 10 stands. We camped on number 1, and it's perfect if you're traveling in one vehicle and want some privacy and shade. If you're traveling in a larger group and want lots of shade, but you don't mind the neighbors camping close by, I suggest that you ask for stand number 3 when you make your booking through Botswana Footprints. Each stand has a fire pit, braai stand and jackal-proof rubbish bin, but no power. It's also unfenced and regularly visited by the local elephant bulls, who come here for shade and grey water from the ablution blocks ingeniously made available to them through large holes in the ground. Speaking of which, sharp spikes all around prevent the elephants from getting too close to the buildings. The 2 ablution blocks have sinks where you can wash your dishes and clothes outside and are spotless inside. They also have flush toilets and hot water, and most impressively, air vents in the floor that allow cool air to stream in, drastically reducing the temperature inside.
So here at South Camp Reception, they actually have a very basic map on the wall. And as you can see, there's lots of roads that you can drive, many more than we thought we would have. And you can see South Camp is here at the bottom, and then just a little bit further north, there's a permanent waterhole, Nxai Pan waterhole, and that's where all the action happens now in the late dry season, because it's the only place that actually has permanent water. If you Google this place, you might be fooled into thinking you're going to be driving from one waterhole to the next, because there's lots of them spread out. But those are actually natural pans, so they'll only have water during the rainy season, probably maybe as early as November, and probably keep water maybe up until May or June, depending on how late it falls. Now, that time of the year, the rainy season, it'll be much greener, very pretty, but because of all the water sources, you'll probably find that the game is much more spread out. So in terms of best time of the year, late dry season is definitely the best.
Here he deflated the air helpers a little bit before we headed out on our first game drive shortly after 4 p.m. By now, the temperature had climbed to 44 degrees Celsius, and we knew that we had to head straight to the only place animals could quench their thirst in the area, namely Nxai Pan Waterhole. The waterhole's location is perfect for wildlife photography. There's lots of space to park right next to it, and because you face west, you've got plenty of mind-blowing opportunities to capture silhouettes and the sunset late in the afternoon. In the morning, the waterhole is bathed in golden light, giving your photos a completely different look and feel. And because we came at the hottest, driest time of the year, game viewing was exceptional. The elephant encounters we had here were some of the best I had ever had on safari. Our first morning drive at Nxai Pans actually started with some excitement.
Big hole. So Ye and I decided to come back to the waterhole first thing in the morning, and we only sat there for about 10-15 minutes and we heard some lions roaring in the distance. So we're heading in that direction and hopefully we can catch up with them. Took a little while, but we actually found the lions. It's two males and Ye spotted them when I had almost driven past them. They're lying here quite a distance away from us. I would say probably about 100 meters or so, but beautifully backlit.
A day and a half later, we actually found the two males at the waterhole, and luckily for us, they weren't alone. By the third afternoon, it was unbearably hot, but somehow Ye still found the energy to keep busy in camp.
In the middle of the day in Nxai Pans, it's really hot, so you have to keep yourself busy with something.
Time for some extra diesel.
Yeah, here in Nxai Pans you don't drive that much as we thought you're going to do. We budgeted for I think 100 kilometers per day for game drives. If we do 10, it's a lot because we only drive to the watering hole and sit there and wait. But we use a lot of diesel as the car is a generator more than a vehicle. So to keep the batteries running, battery powered up, and fridge running. So now we just have to fill up our generator with some diesel. How beautiful is the town!
After filling Fricky's tank, he offered to do the dishes in front of some equally hot spectators. With that chore completed, the Energizer Bunny decided to wash his clothes as well.
Hello, I'm Ye vet, and I'm the Safari Experts washing guy. Look for some smart pants. And look all these holes in Philia's pants. Huh? I think you guys should buy him a coffee so he can buy new underpants. This is part of camp life during the day in 40-odd centigrade heat. You have to do something, and yeah, sometimes you have to wash some clothes. I didn't bring lots of clothes. On the Serengeti trip, I actually just brought I think like 4 shirts and 3 pants, but this time I brought a bit more, but it's still not enough. So check this one off there. Huh? This is when he and Tabby feels a bit kinky, he wears this underpants.
Blatant lies.
The best ways I could think of to cool down was to trim my beard and to take a cold shower. And because we were both too lazy to make a big lunch, we grabbed a packet of trail food and quickly prepared some chili con carne on our tiny camping stove, which we enjoyed with some leftover pap tart from the previous night. By now it was 50 degrees Celsius, so before game drive we quickly swung past South Camp's surprisingly well-stocked little tuck shop to find out whether they had ice.
Hello. Tell me, first question, do you have ice? This Nxai Pan heat. Yeah. So they sell frozen 5 liters here to tackle the heat. But now I want to see if it fits in here.
I don't think it's gonna fit. Oh, nice!
Boom!
Our time at Nxai Pans had been amazing so far, but the one thing we still hadn't seen and that we had been dreaming about for months was a pride of lions at the waterhole. But then, on our last morning...
So we are heading to Khwai today. We're still at Nxai Pan and you can't believe it. We saw nothing at the waterhole, and instead of heading straight back down to the gate, we thought let's just do one last little loop. And here he spotted something in the distance. He actually saw a leopard-faced vulture fly down to the ground. And then we saw in the distance 11 lions, unfortunately not close to the road. And they're busy making their way to the waterhole because the vulture went down to where they made a wildebeest kill last night and they ate everything. There's just little scraps left. So we spend a little bit of time now photographing some jackals and vultures. We're going to go back around to the waterhole, and then we've got about 2 hours before we have to start heading to Maun. Otherwise we're going to be late. But the hope is that those 11 thirsty lions are going to cut a line straight to the waterhole, and that we're going to be able to get them before we've got to go. Fingers crossed.
We waited patiently at the waterhole, but unfortunately the lions never showed up.
So we just spent about an hour and a half waiting at the waterhole for those lions to pitch up, and they didn't. It's still relatively cool, but we're not convinced that they're actually going to keep walking. There's hundreds of heads of game around: springbok, kudu, impala, wildebeest, and none of them look even remotely nervous. So chances are big that those lions have actually laid down somewhere in the shade and that they're going to come and drink this afternoon. So yes, Yei and I are heading back to reception here at South Camp. I think if they've got a stand available for us and they've got credit card facilities, we're going to be spending another night here at Nxai Pans, take the gamble and see whether those lions come and drink this afternoon. You've all seen that beautiful last light sort of backlit shots of the elephants. Imagine we've got that with a pride of 11 lions. Good news, we managed to get space for another night at Nxai Pans. We've got the same campsite, number 1, which is the best one by the way, nice and exclusive. And since it's relatively cool, we're making our way back to the waterhole. We're gonna spend a bit more time there this morning. Who knows, maybe even sit there the whole day if we've got the guts for it, and see what pitches up. And let's hope that this little gamble pays off and that sometime in the next, 24 hours, we've got a pride of 11 lions drinking at Nxai Pan Waterhole.
By sunset, we had become rather deflated, because not only had the lions not showed up during the day, but the elephants had also decided not to come down for a drink like they had done the previous 4 afternoons. The following morning, however, our gamble finally paid off.
So after a disappointing afternoon yesterday, having not found the lions here at the waterhole, in fact we saw nothing, we've got here to the waterhole first thing this morning and all 11 lions are here. We're pretty much surrounded by them. Super relaxed, no other vehicles, and they're quite playful as well. Look at this.
Nxai Pans National Park far exceeded our expectations and gave us some of the best photographic opportunities of the whole Botswana trip. A massive thank you to Outdoor Photo in Pretoria for sending with some incredible gear from their rental department. I used a Canon R6 with a 100 to 500mm RF lens and Yei a Canon EOS R with a 100 to 400mm lens. This is what we were able to capture with them. After our unforgettable lion sighting at Nxai Pan waterhole, it was time to say goodbye to this magical place and to head further northwest. But first, we had to tackle the road from hell again. Because it was slightly cooler than before, the going was a little bit easier this time, but the sand was still thick enough to trap you if you lost momentum, which is exactly what happened to us.
Hard underneath, but hey, we hit a really soft patch, and then there was lots of branches and wood in the road, and I stopped because I was afraid to cut the tires. So now we're a bit stuck. Hopefully not for long.
The easiest way to get out of thick sand like this is to deflate your tires to about 1.2 bar and to remove as much sand around and in front of the wheels as possible. The more time you spend doing this, the better your chances of getting out. And if you want to increase your chances even more, get someone to push as well.
That is how you get out of sand.
If you have to use logs and branches to free yourself, stop if you can once you're out and remove them from the sand to prevent other people from getting stuck as well. At the park entrance gate, we deflated the Econolift suspension air helpers and inflated the tires before heading for the town of Maun. It took us about 2.5 hours to get there from South Camp.
Wow, Maun is a bustling place on a Monday morning. We've stopped here on our way to Khwai just to do a few things like getting some meat here at the back at Beef Boys. Then at the back there, we filled up at Riley's, and then we'll head over to ShopRite to do a bit of grocery shopping. And then who knows, maybe we'll even get a cappuccino, and then we're off to Khwai.
Riley's garage really is the perfect place to stop in Maun. It's next to an AutoZone and ShopRite, and there's even a pharmacy across the road. After stocking up with diesel, kindly sponsored by the Trail Food Company, we also filled up Fricky's water tank and bought some fresh meat from Beef Boys.
A nice beef espetada. It's frozen. Top tip, if you buy meat or you package meat beforehand, always try and freeze it before you put it in the fridge. It will keep the fridge cooler for long.
We even got our cappuccinos from Riley's little store.
Lekker koffie.
Yeah, cheers man.
Cheers, man. Khwai, here we come.
Not far outside Maun, where the road turns from tar to gravel, we had to stop again. This time to deflate the tires and re-inflate the air helpers for the bumpy road ahead.
We're on our way to Khwai from Maun. The road's not nearly as bad as we thought it would be, and we're on the little detour now where it gets very wet. Got some other people coming from the front and some Ellies next to us.
Although you're allowed to pick up firewood further than 1 kilometer away from your campsite in the Khwai concession, we decided to support the locals in Mababe village before heading to arguably my favorite place in the whole Botswana, the Khwai Development Trust's Magotho Campsite, which takes about 3 hours to reach from Maun.
It doesn't get much better than setting camp up in a scene like this. Cheers on that, eh, people? After a long day, we left Nxai Pans this morning at 7 o'clock. It's now 22:05. We finished setting up camp, and look at this. Young bull elephant watching us, checking us out, see if we're lekker oaks.
Lekker oaks.
But he saw we are lekker oaks.
so he decided, I'll give them a pass.
After watching the elephants feeding around our campsite for a while, we hopped into Frikkie to do a short game drive.
Literally the first animal on our first afternoon game drive here at Khwai is a leopard. Oh my goodness, here she comes.
At some stage she stopped, seemingly to decide whether she was going to turn left into the dead tree forest or right into the thickets that lay between us and the Khwai River. Eventually she turned right, which meant that we lost sight of her, but thanks to some squirrel and Franklin alarm calls, we were able to relocate her again quickly. She seemed very alert, and at this stage we assumed it was because she was hunting, but we were wrong. She slowly made her way to the river, stopping every now and again to listen. By the time she finally broke cover, the sun bathed her in stunning golden light. She headed straight for the edge of the water where she crouched down to quench her thirst. And then something remarkable happened. She walked over to where a tiny little cub was drinking.
Good night, Lanky.
We couldn't believe our luck and just how relaxed the leopard and her cub were with us parked right next to them. I've seen hundreds of leopards before, but few sightings can compare with this one. Just look at the photos we were able to take with our mirrorless camera gear from Outdoor Photo. After spending about 15 minutes with them, the mother and cub disappeared into the thickets, only to be seen again on our final afternoon at Khwai. Magotho Campsite is run by the Khwai Development Trust and lies just north of Moremi, somewhere between Mababe village and Khwai village, near the turnoff to Savuti. There are 50 numbered stands, but many people wild camp on the northern bank of the Khwai River, which the community members don't seem to mind. They've got a tiny little office right next to the river near stand number 5, where you have to check in upon arrival. Getting a hold of someone to make a booking at Magotho can be very difficult, so save yourself the trouble and book through Botswana Footprints. I've added a link to their website in the description below. If you're on a large stand with a stunning view over the dead tree forest and you don't mind a lack of privacy, ask for stand number 13. It's only a short drive away from one of 3 basic ablution blocks with flush toilets and hot water. Don't forget to bring your own toilet paper with. Stands number 4 and 5 are closer to the river, have lots of shade, and are both walking distance from an ablution block. If, however, you want more privacy and don't mind driving to an ablution block, ask for stands number 7 or 9. Personally, I don't like camping right on the river because then people drive past your campsite throughout the day. And remember, never scoop water from the river itself because there are some monster crocodiles around. Rather bring a spare container with you that you can fill up next to the ablution blocks. We actually borrowed a rake from the community members to clear our stand of thorns before laying down our ground sheet below the gazebo. I also suggest clearing a path for your vehicle because these thorns can easily puncture a tire. Speaking of which, even though you're allowed to drive off-road here, I strongly suggest that you stick to the road simply because of all the spikes next to the two tracks. We've actually had 2 sidewalls compromised like this in the past, and that's why I always travel with a satellite phone from Sat48. You never know when you might have to call for help. Over the next couple of days, we search for any and everything beautiful around Magotho. What I love so much about this area is the fact that it has an extensive road network that allows you to do game viewing in some breathtaking landscapes. On our second morning, we spent some time looking for the mother leopard and her cub close to camp.
It's crazy, we've been looking for that leopard female with the cub all morning, probably close to an hour and a half now without any luck, no tracks even. And then as we hit the river, we find a pack of wild dogs who had made a kill on the other side, on the Moremi side, and they've attracted a few white-backed vultures as well. Check this.
We could clearly see them on the opposite bank and spent close to an hour with them, watching them finish the remains of a kill and socializing with each other. Shortly after, someone told us about a pride of lions on a buffalo kill near Machaba camp further northwest. There was very little of the carcass left, and despite the flies and the heat, some of the pride members kept tearing off dry and chewy pieces of meat. Because we were now so close, we decided to pop in at Machaba to say hi to friends Sean and Alka, who we had visited 10 years before at Tarangira treetops on the Serengeti trip. This, however, meant crossing a long stretch of water first, but luckily it wasn't too deep. Unfortunately, Sean wasn't home, but we had a great catch-up with Elke, who gave us some excellent information about the area's predator movements.
At the moment, they've actually settled quite nicely. Like Makgadikgadi Station, that whole area
On the way back to camp, we crossed another much deeper channel that made our hearts beat a little bit faster at some point. Thank goodness for Fricky's snorkel, which had been fitted by a 4x4 Centurion shortly before the trip. If you're unsure about the depth or which line to take through, don't attempt to cross any of the channels. Rather wait for one of the lodge vehicles to come past and show you exactly where to cross safely. And again, because of all the crocs, it's a bad idea to walk through the water to test how deep it is. That evening, after all the excitement, Yei offered to make dinner.
Wish that I could stay. Wish for this moment to never go away.
Choma, what's your bacon?
For the first time on this trip, we're doing the world famous, world renowned potbrood.
Nom nom.
So I can't believe we only waited till now. But yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah. Yes, that looks amazing.
And to top it all off, we spotted a surprisingly relaxed serval hunting in a clearing right in front of our camp. Little did we know that Khwai would reward us in the most memorable way the following morning. Magotho is named after the camelthorn trees that grow on the bank of the Khwai River in this area. Just north of the campsite is a massive patch where thousands of these trees have died, forming a breathtakingly beautiful dead tree forest that attracts a remarkable number of animals. On most days, you'll find a herd or two of impalas and wildebeest grazing between the camel thorns, and you can consider yourself unlucky if you don't find at least a couple of elephants walking through the forest during your stay. During one of our afternoon game drives, 3 particularly relaxed bulls walked right up to us in what ended up being yet another unforgettable elephant experience on the Botswana trip. Yei and I spent at least an hour drive slowly driving through the dead tree forest, not only because the landscape is so dramatic and beautiful, but also because I've had some amazing leopard sightings here in the past. We knew that we stood a chance of bumping into the Magotho female if we were lucky, but she, along with all the other leopards, kept eluding us. On the third morning, however, our efforts were rewarded. Shortly after 6 a.m, close to campsite number 13, we heard some impala alarm calls. Seconds later, we spotted a big, beautiful lioness on the edge of the dead tree forest. She seemed to be looking for the other members of her pride, walking with purpose, stopping to sniff the ground every now and again, and continuously giving soft contact calls. And then, all of a sudden, she lay down and started roaring loudly. She was extremely alert, constantly turning her head, listening for a response.
So this female was busy roaring, and then suddenly she stood up and she started kind of trotting in one direction. So we think she may have heard or even seen some of the other lions.
We decided to stick with her for as long as we could to see what would happen next.
We've finally got some other lions responding, just a little bit further south of us. Let's look at her reaction.
Let me tell you, Khwai never, ever disappoints.
We've come all the way down close to those beautiful hippo pools, close to the Chobe cut line. It's basically where Chobe, Moremi and Khwai comes together. This female's finally stopped at the water, and we now see 5 lions on the other side. Probably the lions we've been hearing every night since we got here.
They watched her very carefully as she approached the river, and one of the young males even got up to have a closer look, presumably to make sure that the lion they'd been hearing all morning was indeed one of their pride members.
Yeah, it looks like she wants to cross, but man, there's lots of water here. Not sure how she's going to do it, but this should get interesting.
She cautiously waded through the boggy grasses on the edge of the river, and then, all of a sudden,
This poor lioness, she's trying to cross, but there's hippos in the river and they don't want to let her through. And the rest of the pride's waiting for her literally, 20 meters away?
like Yei said, Khwai never ever disappoints. We couldn't believe what we had witnessed and were anxious to see what her next move was going to be. She had come too far to give up now. Covered in mud and water, she walked a little downstream to where the river was even narrower. And then she crossed. What happened next was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever seen on Game Drive.
Wow.
The pride had reunited, and we watched them as they disappeared into Moremi. The Khwai River is the lifeblood of this area, and just like with the Dead Tree Forest, we spent countless hours driving up and down along it, not only because of the stunning scenery, but also because of all the animals that it attracts.
this is the most amazing place to have lunch. I'm having a lekker piece of leftover steak. Ellie's drinking in the background, but also the side. Nom nom nom.
This was our routine in Khwai. Do a game drive early in the morning, take a short nap until it got too hot, and then head down to the Khwai River for some lunch. If we weren't eating leftovers, we would quickly prepare some trail food. The Trail Food Company was one of 6 amazing companies that supported us during the Botswana trip. And like I said in the first episode of this series, I truly believe that our sponsors' products will make your Botswana self-drive adventure even more enjoyable. The Trail Food Company sells delicious dehydrated food that's not only quick and easy to prepare, but also easy to pack. Flavors include beef potjie, red lentil dal, chili con carne, mushroom risotto, and my favorite, North African couscous. Botswana Footprints is a booking agency that allows you to book all your campsites in Botswana in one go. For a small once-off fee, they will book all your campsites for you, handle a single and safe online credit card payment, and then send you all your booking vouchers before your trip starts. It removes all the stress and hassles you've come to expect from booking accommodation in Botswana. In case of an emergency and to chat to my family, I also always take a satellite phone from Sat for Rent with to Botswana.
Okay.
They will courier the phone to your house together with an empty bag ready to send it back in upon your return. Renting a wide-angle lens for Kubu Island or a longer lens for wildlife photos elsewhere in Botswana is definitely worth it, especially if you only take photos on big trips like this every other year. I highly recommend renting and buying for that matter from Outdoor Photo in Pretoria, who have given me only excellent service in the 15 odd years that I've been a client of theirs. Last but by no means least, I'd like to thank our car sponsors. The air helpers fitted by Econolift suspensions proved invaluable on the bumpy sand roads, and I can't imagine ever driving back into Botswana without them. And the snorkel fitted by 4x4 Centurion not only kept Frikkie safe during the water crossings in Khwai, but also ensured that our air filter stayed clean whilst driving the dusty roads through the Makgadikgadi Pans. I've added website links to all these helpful companies in the video description. As you've seen throughout this series, traveling to Botswana in October is excellent for game viewing, since all the water sources attract loads of animals. But remember that it also gets extremely hot this time of the year. You simply won't survive without a gazebo and a good fridge freezer. Also make sure to bring enough drinking water with, as well as extra fuel if you're planning to do lots of game drives in remote areas like Nxai Pans and Khwai. A well-stocked toolbox and knowing how to use what's inside can also save you a lot of heartache on a long trip like this. And then one of the last things that's extremely important when you self-drive through Botswana is to be respectful at all times.
Morning, sir. How are you? I'm very good, thank you.
To the officials that welcome you, to other campers that come for the peace and quiet, to safari guides that drive paying guests from nearby lodges, and most importantly, to the animals that allow us to share their unspoiled spaces.
So after that incredible lion sighting this morning where we saw the female crossing the river and join up with the rest of the pride, we've decided that we're going to spend at least the next 2 drives, maybe all 4 of our last drives, looking for leopard specifically. Hopefully it's going to be the Magotho female with that cub, and we'll start our efforts here in the dead tree forest. That's incredibly beautiful.
We didn't have much luck in the dead tree forest, but then the following morning
we woke up to the sound of vervet monkeys at about 20 to 4 this morning, and it's now after 5:30 and they're still going very close to our campsite, and there's leopard tracks up and down for a female. So she's right here somewhere, but we're struggling a little bit to find her.
we kept on searching along the river for the rest of the day, and then finally around 5:45 that evening,
all the hard work of the last 2 days has finally paid off. We just bumped into the Magotho female leopard. We were just taking a little drive along the riverbed when suddenly a car came from the front and flashed lights, and she was literally walking right next to them. Unfortunately, she's cut into a block now, the same block that she took the cub into last time. So we're just going to swing around and wait at the bathrooms, because that's the line that she's taken. Hopefully she's going to pop out of the other side.
Some alarm calls on the other side of the thicket gave away their position, but this time we only had a short glimpse of the little cub. Yeye and I really had been incredibly lucky over the past couple of weeks, seeing things that we never would have expected. Our journey through Botswana really was the perfect way to relive some of the epic moments and memories we shared on the Serengeti trip in 2011. But more importantly, we made new memories and strengthened a bond that I'm eternally grateful for. Thank you so much for watching the Botswana Trip series here on YouTube. If you enjoyed it, please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and ask any question you might have about Botswana in the comments below. Until next time.